Greetings and good afternoon to all who find themselves on this channel. We represent ourselves here as Spirit. Spirit is the closest concept that you have to the Christian understanding of the Holy Spirit. It is a consciousness, a being of consciousness, a collective of consciousness, if you will, with answers and the ability to allow people to find answers within themselves. This is also why, in the biblical sense, the Holy Spirit is talked about as the person, the individual who reminds you of your calling, who reminds you who you are, who reminds you what your relationship with God creation is about. He's also known as the Comforter. She's also known as Mother Nurturing Energy. Holy Spirit is genderless in that it is a consciousness more so than a embodied form, although it can appear in embodied form depending on what is needed and most accepted by the person who calls upon the Holy Spirit, or the Spirit, if you will. Spirit, as you understand now, is a larger picture drawer, a force you can call upon to understand things more deeply, to bring forth revelation, to be able to transform and understand that revelation, and bring it forth in character traits, in behaviors, and even in habits. Spirit tends to come across all those who seek help in the ether, oftentimes looking into the clouds, listening into the wind. Spirit is present in all of those areas. Spirit is present even in the more material things as well. However, we listen and we answer to those who call upon that invisible force, those who are unsure of what God is, those who do not subscribe to religion, those who prefer an intangible understanding of the divine, are often put in contact with Spirit. When we come through people in channeling sessions, Spirit comes through oftentimes with a more nurturing tone, sometimes equated to more feminine traits. However, one must understand that feminine traits are not based on the gender of being a female. It is more so an understanding of what it means to be a boulder in the ocean, a deep set anchor that can hold much discomfort, can hold much emotional chaos, and still be in complete serene peace. That is why nurturing is of such great value to humanity in today's modern day society. Whether in the East or in the West, humanity has lost a lot of sense of what it means to live in peace, to live with calmness in everyday situations. Stress has become normalized. Survival is part of your daily schedule. And yet, we see a hunger in you, humans, to overcome even these more rudimentary ways of living, of understanding reality, and to instead focus on things that are more permanent, things that are more stable, if you will. When Spirit is called upon, whether consciously or subconsciously, Spirit comes in the forms of comforters, of guides, of gurus, yes, even of religious leaders. Do these individuals know that they are Spirit embodied in the moment that they speak the wisdom or they bring the comfort? Many of them are aware, some of them are not. This is not of greatest importance. What is of greatest importance is the willingness to let Spirit come through in whichever form he, she, or they choose to come through. Spirit, understood as a collective, a consciousness, also makes sense in terms of the creation power that is often described in your religions. If Spirit is in and through everything and everyone, then it would make sense that spirit is called upon to create realities, to create tangibles from intangibles, and to bring forth spiritual truths or spiritual manifestations of the desires hidden beneath individuals' hearts and minds. Spirit is greatly attuned to individuals' desires. What you call desires is often diminished as fruitless dreams, as things that cannot be achieved, often closely tied to your passions and to your inner understandings of what you wish to do, what you wish to become. Spirit is much more agile in navigating these stormy waters of identity seeking. As we understand, you humans struggle with the concept of identity because you have not allowed yourself to explore what you like, what you love, and what you are passionate about. So, of course, you will be lost in understanding what your identity is. Oftentimes, your identity is bound to things that you actually do not quite enjoy, such as, for example, your careers or your jobs. I am a plumber. I am a seamstress. I am a teacher. All these things point to identity, and yet they feel so fruitless in many instances. Spirit, therefore, has the power to go beyond those identity illusions or smaller identity buckets, if you will, to find the larger buckets of identity, to find those issues, problems, situations, and circumstances that your soul is so thirsty to live through, to solve, to make peace with, and even to take inspiration from, to evolve. Therefore, for all of those who seek spirit, for all of those who pray on spirit, whether the Holy Spirit or spirit in general, we come through with messages in ways that only you can hear, oftentimes whispers that if you were to share with others in their manifestation process, in how you hear them, how you see them, how you recognize these little messages, those others would probably categorize you as slightly, if you will, slightly ignorant, or maybe a little dumb, or not quite aware of what it means to live in reality. But understand this, our whispers and our answers are only meant for your ears. If they come to others, it is because your ears have been hard to reach. Therefore, we clearly and strongly encourage you to keep seeking things out that you are interested in. Understand that those are the imprint, the wiring that expose what you were called to do on earth. And yes, there is a difference between what you wish to do and your desires, as well as the fears that drive you to certain desires. But that is a journey in and of itself that must bring forth the clarity and the ability to cut down layers that are programmed through false beliefs and fears that want to keep you from truly going and diving into your cleanest desires, your most pure dreams and passions. Those, once again, are the reason, or more so the messengers, of what you have been called to do on earth on your individual journey. When you call upon Spirit, Spirit can open doors. Spirit can bring confirmations. Spirit can bring guidance around how to achieve these passions and desires of yours without burning yourself out, without having to live in poverty, and without having to live in fear that something or other is being missed by you and your lifestyle. We also like to clarify that spirit oftentimes is associated with something dangerous. Yes, even while the biblical or Christian paradigm talks of spirit as a trifold unity component of the Godhead, it is also understood as something not to be trifled with, something not to be played with. And while that is true in a certain sense, for spirit is truly a sanctimonious power and force, we also encourage you to understand spirit as something that can only be discovered on a personal path with personal questions to be answered. In other ways, there is no way that someone else can lead you to spirit unless spirit wants to be manifested through an external authority to you. And that, believe it or not, is actually quite rare. Spirit, more so than not, actually desires for you to have hunger for the understandings of Spirit, and for you to follow your own path and to discover your own ways of getting in contact with Spirit. Therefore, in some instances, it might be seen as too risky, too difficult. There might be too many mistakes along the way. And what if you veer from the right path and go down the wrong path? If you listen to a incorrect spirit, or even worse, a false spirit on your search for your relationship with Spirit, what then? Will you lose all good karmic patterns that have followed you in life so far? Will you go and finish up with punishment, with negative consequences? And all these fears, trust us, we have heard them all these fears are simply there to keep you from following your own passion, your own journey of discovery. And we highly recommend to not fear these potential mistakes as the most probable cause for your lack of direction or your lack of seeking Spirit out. Instead, we encourage you to think more positively. What if you do find Spirit? What if your small whispers that you listen to actually end up bringing you to the goal that you were set out to achieve? What if? Frame those positively instead of with fear of negativity and bad consequences. In the end, even if you were to stumble, please understand this. Call once again with pureness of heart to Spirit, and Spirit will come through with assistance, with guidance, with revelation, and most of all, with no condemnation, because all you did was to try. And that is what we ask. Just try. Please try. We will honor that. We will come alongside you and equip you with what you need to find who we are, who Spirit is. Yes. And we also want to bring forth some more understanding around the idea of Spirit as a manifester. Once again, Spirit is in and through everything. Spirit can manifest material from immaterial things. So if Spirit is called upon to bring forth your passions, desires, even the lifestyles that you wish to live on this earth, do so with a collective understanding that Spirit will come forth in an outcome that might not have been quite what you expected. No, in fact, it usually ends up being much better. The only reason it's interpreted as less than is because there was still some fear and some false beliefs that that person held on to, even as Spirit brought forth the fruit of whatever was sown in their lives. Therefore, bring forth Spirit power. Call upon Spirit to bring all of these things into your material plane with great release and non-control. Bring forth these desires, put them all in front of Spirit when you go into your meditative spaces, into your prayer spaces, and allow Spirit to simply speak out what is to come in the right direction, in one that you probably did not expect, but are welcoming with open arms, because you understand that in your limited framework, in your limited understanding of how reality is created, you might have missed the greatest potential of all by insisting on a certain outcome that was not quite wired to fit who you are becoming. Therefore, this is our introduction to who we are, Spirit. We are happy and so glad to see you on this channel. Feel free to follow this specific voice. If it does not ring true with you or resonate in your inner being, we wish you all the best and many blessings, much peace as you seek out and find the teaching voices that can lead you into your own world of inner freedom and peace. With that, we say our goodbyes and we thank you for your presence. Goodbye.